As with any hobby, there's nothing quite like the experience of getting a comically oversized box from Amazon filled with new goodies to try. Testing everything out and setting stuff up in your living room is a simple pleasure I think many of us can relate to. I mean, sometimes what you bought turns out to not be worth it, but hopefully those times are rare. Anyway, one of the defining features of just being a human is the ability to imagine. And a big part of the excitement of receiving the aforementioned goodies is imagining all the different ways you'll use them and all the different trips you'll go on. Now, whether you actually end up using all of your new stuff is a totally different thing and the topic of a separate video. But think back to before you had ever gone backpacking. Or if you've never been backpacking, think back to right now. I had always imagined it as hiking for miles and miles on the Appalachian Trail and barely seeing another human. Looking out majestically from the mountaintop. Just feeling like you're out in an adventure in untamed wilderness. That feeling is what initially attracted me to backpacking in the first place. You know, after 10 years of backpacking, it largely has met and still meets that expectation. So in that sense, what I was looking for was what I got. But the actual reality of backpacking had so many things I never imagined. On a very basic level, backpacking is as straightforward as it seemed. You walk, you talk, you see some really cool stuff, you sleep in a tent, and you do it again. But I imagined having to do a lot more navigating. I didn't realize it would be quite as straightforward as it is. You follow the trail, you're good to go. I somehow imagined it to have a lot more getting lost and feeling like it would be difficult to get back. But really, I have never once felt like I was in danger of not being able to finish the trail. And maybe this says something about my general level of optimism, but it never really occurred to me any of the downsides of backpacking. No one ever talks about how uncomfortable and downright unpleasant it can be. We probably do, actually.
I've experienced literally nothing enjoyable on this trail.
And now that I think about it, I've talked to many people who could never backpack because of all the discomfort that is involved. But I just never really thought about any of those until I actually experienced them. Pooping outdoors, and not just pooping, but having to get out of your tent to poop in the middle of the night, or in some cases, in your tent too.
In the tent? In the tent. What?
Waking up and not being able to feel your toes because it's so cold. Rain becoming my arch nemesis. Side note, if rain wasn't absolutely vital to the existence of life on this planet, I would do everything in my power so that it never rained again. Black flies biting the shit out of you. Ow! Not showering for a week. When you see some epic post on Instagram or some thumbnail on YouTube, none of this stuff is ever mentioned. And honestly, that's probably pretty obvious. Hopefully we all realize that a simple picture can't tell the full story. I think in general, most people are optimists, and we're all gonna think about the good parts of something way more than we think about the bad parts. And in that regard, there's actually quite a bit that is positive that I never expected. I think when lots of us hear people talk about backpacking, immediately what comes to mind is trekking up the Swiss Alps. There's this air of conquest and struggle. But in reality, the real joys of backpacking often come from the most quiet, understated moments. Until you've actually experienced it, you'd never know that the greatest sense of relief comes from being wet for 2 solid days and then finally being able to dry out in the sun. You would never know how nice it could be to share a coffee and a stroopwafel after you've been soaked to the bone, canoeing to your campsite in the dark and suddenly seeing the aurora borealis for the first time, huddling in a frozen bathroom hut for warmth with your best friends, sitting in the breeze in a grassy field as you wait for a ferry to take you back to civilization, swimming in a crisp lake in the summer sun, watching the sun set over Lake Michigan with not a soul in sight, having a fox as a camp neighbor, almost like a pet dog, meeting new friends on the trail. Actually, after writing this video, it's not so much that my expectations of backpacking didn't match up with reality, it's that there were so many more facets of it that I just never thought of. And maybe that speaks more to a lack of imagination on my part. But anyways, why do you backpack? What has drawn you to it and keeps you coming back? For me, it's kind of the same reason I do anything else. It's those feelings that I feel. Speaking of exercise, when do you guys like to exercise? Because for me, it's like the middle of the day. The point when the sun is at its apex. We need to get working hours and working environments more in line with the abundance and quality of life we already have. We have so much raw goods and materials in this country, and we're still behaving like we've got nothing and that we have to work our butts off
or we're all gonna die and starve. If we're gonna work like that, at least we could do a better job of sharing. But my point is that you should be able to exercise anytime you want during the day, instead of having to exercise after work when it's nighttime. Before civilization, what human ever was like, oh, you know what, the sun just set, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna run and jump and chase a tiger. Oh, that's a nice looking bird. It was like, nighttime, it's time for sleep.
I feel like these are not radical ideas, you know? Like living in accordance with the way that the earth rotates and revolves is not a radical idea. And it shouldn't be controversial to think that we should get up with the sun, go to sleep with the sun. What are we doing here, man? It's like we act like we're just robos who don't need to maintain their physical vehicle. So I cannibalized one of those things. It's gotta happen, man. I gotta have a proper setup where it's not, I have to set everything up every time I wanna use anything. You know, it's the same reason that I set this whole setup up, is so that the barrier to entry to actually writing music is to just go sit at the desk and turn everything on. It's not every single time I want to write music, I have to hook up my laptop, I have to find this thing, I gotta make sure that this hard drive's hooked up, I gotta find a charger. Obviously, those aren't huge hurdles, and the technology itself is amazing. And since I had the means to do it, I did it. Anyways, and I got this bookshelf, which has been sitting at my dad's house for years. I used to have it filled with my entire DVD collection. I sold that entire thing. Now, it is holding every video game I own, minus collector's editions, which I gotta figure out what to do about those. That's another topic though. Anyways, I'm gonna get this set up because this is ready to go. So it's not absolutely everything I could have hooked up, but it's everything I would probably want to play. There's still the question, what should I do with this? I don't need two of these, but I don't want to just get rid of this because it's such a beauty and I want to find somebody who would actually use it. But what if this one breaks? Then I'll be out of a CRT, so then I'd have a backup. That is for another time to figure out. Not today, not today. Time to go teach my class. I've been doing a really good job at getting one new song every week to keep it fresh for myself and for my students. And this has nothing to do with that. But one of my pet peeves is when people tell me, oh, you think that's cold? Check out this. Or, oh, you wouldn't be able to survive there. It's like, I mean, I get it. People are just trying to make conversation. But let's not assume just because I'm saying it's cold doesn't mean that I don't understand that other places are much colder. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna go teach this class. I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Okay, we're starting with the run today. There's really nothing to say. Actually, you know, there is something to say. I was actually thinking, maybe I should participate in one of those 5Ks. The last time I did a 5K, I ran it in 22 minutes. That's a little over 7 minutes per mile. When I did it that time, I almost felt like throwing up. Now doing a 7-minute mile is like no problem, but doing it 3 times in a row, sounds a little difficult, but I bet I could do better than 22 minutes. Yeah, I'm sure I could. Anyways, I'm gonna go run. I'll see you later. Guys, I am really tired of the cold. The music writing went very well. I didn't finish a song, but I got a song kind of written. I need to get a melody for it, but it's looking pretty good. If I can keep this up, I'll have a nice little backlog for when it's actually time to edit an episode. That will be tremendously helpful and a huge, burden of creativity lifted off the shoulders. Part of the difficulty is you are under pressure to make a song. Because you can't just work on the episode forever. But when there's no episode to even be made right now, it's not like I'm under any time pressure. So that eases a lot of the pressure to perform. And then you can just relax and write the music. Now, I, like any other person, enjoy a good kombucha, but why are these $3.50? It's like I'm like, I want to drink that orange-looking mango manic,
Mystic Mango, but it's not worth $3.50. Especially, it's like drinking kind of like sour soda, which is kind of weird that I even like it. I usually just get the 69-cent soda cans, but today I was like, slice of pizza, Mystic Mango, pow! I actually don't even know if it's time to leave yet. Is it time to leave? It's not even close to time to leave. I don't want to wait here, so I guess I'll just leave anyway. Who cares? Why am I even still talking?